Good morning and welcome to It's How You'll Be Remembered. I am Julie Jones, your host and the Chief Encouragement Officer here at today's Professionals. And I am solo today because I want to talk to you about my very favorite topic, and that is people skills. We call them soft skills. I think that's the big umbrella. But then there's people skills, and then there's Simon Sinek calls them human skills. But really, what they are how we deal with life and how we deal with people. And today, I have a topic that I cannot wait to discuss with you. If you are seeing this live, please let me know that you're here. Say hello and be sure to chime in with your comments because I know you're going to have a lot to say about today's topic. As you know, I am a corporate etiquette consultant. That's how I got started. I left education in 2013. I became a certified etiquette consultant in 2011 because I saw the research that said that 85% of a person's success comes from your people skills, your ability to connect with others. And as a teacher, I realized that we were just talking hard skills, the technical skills. We were just, and the business community was saying, hey, it's not working what we're doing. They're coming out of high school and college and they're not ready for the workforce. And so what did education do? Well, they just created more tutorials for us. And so that seemed to me like the definition of insanity. Now, this was a long time ago, and I believe education has turned the tide now. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot going on in education, and we're going to be talking about that today. But first, I want to jump into the comments. I want to say hello, Ashish. Thank you so much for joining us. You are on YouTube. Glad you are here. And also Peggy Edge, my good friend, a LinkedIn makeover profile person. If you need to elevate your LinkedIn profile, be sure and connect with Miss Peggy. And then we've got Ron Kearns. Oh, he has a lot to say on this topic. I just happened to be scrolling and bam, there you were. You know what? That's because you were meant to be here, Ron. Ron and I have had many conversations about this topic. He is going to have a lot to say, and I can't wait to hear from him as well. So thank you all for joining us. If you are catching this live, be sure and let us know that you're here. And even if you're catching the replay, I want to know your comments because this is huge. So here is the topic, and this is the way I think God works, right? I have been talking about this and preaching this for so long. I've been working with companies to hire etiquette consultants, and I'm one of the ones that they hire to work with their new hires to help them bridge the gap between what their boss expects them to know, but yet no one taught them. And so it has been a passion of mine. Many of you know that I took a side gig and opened a plumbing company many years ago. We had that for 7 years, and we grew that to $1 million revenue generating plumbing company. And then we sold that because we wanted to do other things. And that was the most valuable time of my life because I really saw the importance of how we communicate and how we train our people to represent our brand, how we have to pour into our people because they are the face of our company and they represent our company. I'm a huge fan of Zig Ziglar. I have been since I was in middle school, and I am proud and honored to be a Ziglar coach as well. And he has a quote that says, "You don't build a company, you build people, and the people build companies." And that is so true. And I found that when we had our plumbing company, and it's really important that we pour into the people of our company, because when they are happy, when we take care of them first, when we make sure that they love what they're doing, that their values align with our values, that they get along. And if there is an issue, they're able to have the conversations they need to have. In order to work through those conversations, we build something special. And when the people within our company are happy and they love what they're doing, it's not necessarily about the money. I mean, although they do need raises and they need to be paid well and compensated well because they're growing their career as well. We're providing that avenue to them, but it's really more about how they feel about going to work. And so are they on board with you? And then they take care of your customers. They'll take care of your clients because they're happy, and happy people take better care of our clients. And so when I talk to companies and they say our first priority is our client, I always say rethink that, because your first priority should be your internal client, because we've got to develop this first so that we can then take our message and our products and services to the market, and we can serve people in the way that they need to be served. And then when our internal clients are happy and they're doing a great job, they take care of our external clients, and they are happy and they refer business to us and they are loyal to us. Then the company wins and we become a great company. And so that is the topic today. We're going to talk about our people. And I saw I was watching the news today, and I saw I'm looking for my banner. I lost it. I saw on the news today where universities are having adulting 101 classes. This is huge. Our high schools and our universities are now turning toward life skills. And guess what is part of that? That is the professionalism. So you're making my heart sing when we're now teaching the students in schools how to survive outside of the world, outside of school. And so here's the research that led me to leave education. 85% of a person's success comes from their ability to connect with people. Now, this is not new information, right? In the 30s, Dale Carnegie wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it was about soft skills. In the 70s, Zig Ziglar wrote a book called See You at the Top, and it's all about your mindset, how you manage yourself, how you show up. And that is so important. This is not new information. This is not even rocket science, but it's basic life skills. And that's what Adulting 101 classes are. So in the news, they were talking about financial literacy. How many of you right now are like, yes, teach people how to live within their means. Teach our students that when they come out of high school and college and they start their job and they're moving out of their parents' house, they don't get to start in their parents' house. They have to maybe go to an apartment for a while, and they have to start meek and mild because we have to grow into the dream home that our parents have and the dream home that we were raised in. And so we teach our children financial literacy. Even if you pay them for chores, and there is, I guess, pros and cons to that. I've heard both sides of it. But some people pay their children to do chores, to make their bed, to take the trash out, to do, to set the table and things like that. But then they also teach them that I'm going to give you this money, but I'm going to take some money back before taxes. And then they put that money in a savings account for them. But they let them know that just because they made this money doesn't mean that they get to keep the money, that they have to put it into, give it somewhere else. Some people also take some money for taxes and then they ask their children to tithe. And so they'll say, well, you can take this money and put it in the offering at church, or donate it to a cause, maybe a nonprofit that the family supports. So they teach children that. But then they teach that they manage that money and they save the money so that if they want something, they have to go buy it themselves. And I think that is a great way to teach children about financial literacy. Now, some parents also say, I don't pay my child for chores, just basic chores, because that's part of being the family. So they teach them to contribute to the family without expecting anything in return, because that's what we do as parents, right? We just contribute to the family. That's our responsibility. But then they find other things to pay their children for, things like, maybe extra chores or doing extra things around the house, or they teach them to start a little business. We've always seen the lemonade stands, or maybe mow the yard or do something like that. And so financial literacy is one thing that universities are now teaching, and high schools are teaching students as far as the soft skills. But one of the things that I was surprised about is the meal planning. And I started thinking about that. I mean, we don't really do that much anymore. I mean, do you eat out a lot? I do. I eat out a lot. And so the meal planning is, again, part of financial literacy. You save money when you eat at home. I have a friend, Sandra Lewis, who has Life at the Table, and she teaches people how to prepare meals quickly at home and inexpensively. You save money, you have better quality food because it's not all processed. So, and it also teaches you portion control and how to have leftovers if you want them, how to not have leftovers. And so it's really part of planning. And think about this, and we teach this in Ziglar too, that goal setting and planning is part of your day. You have to understand how much time it takes, how much time do you have, how planning ahead and doing things ahead of time will help you in your day. You accomplish more when you take time to plan. And so the benefits of meal planning, and they were talking this morning on the news about meal prep. They were talking about, we used to call it meal prep. And so people who are watching their macros and their calories, and they're trying to focus on protein, the fitness people will talk about meal prep, but meal planning is also part of that. So teaching our children that this is all part of adulting, right? Things like laundry, things like how to do laundry. How many of you had students who've just graduated from high school and are going to college? Do they know how to do laundry? I mean, are they going to come home once a month and bring their laundry with them? I know when I was in college, I used to love it when I would go home on the weekends, because I'd go, oh, I don't have to do laundry. And my mom will do it for me. And it was a treat to have mom do laundry for me. But when I left for college, I knew how to do laundry because that was part of my chores. That was part of what I had to do growing up. My mom also taught me how to meal plan because she cooked every night. And so she taught me about nutrition. She had a meat, a starch, a green vegetable, and a salad every night. We had the meals, and I had to set the table and help her in the kitchen. We got the meal going, we had dinner, and then I had to clean up. So I had these skills. And then as I got older and got into high school, I had to be responsible for washing the towels, and I had to be responsible for washing my sheets. And how often do you wash your sheets? And then that dreaded fold the fitted sheet. I had to learn how to do that. You can't do that on the couch. You have to go somewhere where you can spread out and do that. But these are little things that we need to be teaching our children. And so the Adulting 101 classes are things that our students are craving. They are flocking to these classes. Finally, I want to talk about the etiquette and professionalism. I mean, they were talking on the news today about going to a dining etiquette class. And this used to be my most requested class. But in the last few years since COVID, I haven't had as many requests for this class. But it's not just about the dining etiquette, not just about what fork to use, and you use your utensils from the outside in, and how to order, but it is about the difference between going to a meal or it is your job interview, or you're trying to develop a relationship with a new client, or maybe you've got a client that you want to show appreciation to. What does that meal look like? And how is it different from when you go to eat with your friends and family? This is important, and we don't teach it. And so that professionalism of how do you conduct yourself during that meal, the little things that you can do that make a big difference. Because one of the things that the young professionals will ask me is, how do I make sure that someone your age knows that I know what I'm doing, that I am responsible? How do I know this? Well, you do that by the way you conduct yourself and the professionalism that you show. And it is not common sense. I mean, so many people will come to me and say, I don't understand why the new people coming out of college don't have these skills. Isn't it common sense? And my answer is no, because you don't know what you don't know. Years ago, I was conducting a class at Texas Tech. They had an amazing leadership program for their senior student athletes, and I was honored to be a part of that. And I got to teach the dining etiquette piece for business job interviews. And I remember one of the football players, there was a table of football players who were waving me over to come over. And there was one of the guys there said, I've never been to a meal like this. I don't know how to do this. And he was a little bit embarrassed. And I said, do not be embarrassed, because this is why we're doing this, so that you have the confidence to go into a job interview and use the utensils. And so we worked with him, and he got it. He picked up on it really quickly. But I started thinking, kudos to Texas Tech. Kudos to you for having the courage to say, we're going to teach these leadership skills. We're going to prepare you for life after college, because they represent the university. And so when somebody says, I'm going to interview a student athlete out of Texas Tech, that hiring manager will go, well, we know they're prepared. And so think about going to that job interview that was over a meal, where that one student who said, I'm uncomfortable doing this. I've never been to a meal quite like this. And I will say, we were eating spaghetti. So it was not an easy meal, right? And so just think about the confidence that the university gave to that student to go out and get the job of his dreams. I mean, these little things that we're teaching that we think don't matter, they matter. And so I want to share my screen with you. Because I want to show you the where I'm getting this, because I saw this on the news, and then I did some research, and I'm struggling here to get this done. Okay, so here we go. So I want to share my screen so that you can see where I saw this, so that you can go back and look it up and do the research yourself, and know that this type of training is not something we should skip. We shouldn't skip it in schools. We shouldn't skip it in our new hires, because we are training people how to represent us and our brand. We are maintaining the integrity of our brand. And so that's why this is important. So I'm going to share my screen. I think I did this a while ago before I went on. I said, I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing before I get on live with you and then mess up. But here we go. All right. So this was on Fox and Friends this morning, and it says, look at the headline, Adulting 101 teaches Gen Z's basic life skills. And they were talking on this segment right here, they were talking about not knowing how to change a tire. I mean, do you remember when you turned 16, how excited you were to get a car? I mean, even my kids started driving in the teens, the 2000 teens. And when they turned 15, they were on me. We got to get in driver's ed. And I mean, my daughter was like, here's the forms, here's the paperwork. What kind of car are we going to get? Can we go drive cars? Can I drive around the neighborhood? Can I start getting used to it? Can we go to the high school parking lot and let me drive? They wanted to learn how to drive. And so, but we taught them, you got to change a tire. You got to learn, and we got to learn about the oil changes. Now, my dad made me change oil, but this was, back in the 1900s. And so when we changed our own oil, I don't do that anymore, but knowing how to do these things, I think, is an important life skill. And so if you are interested, I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm going to put it here so that I'll put it in the chat later. And we've got a comment here, and let me stop sharing right now and then go back to comments. Rob Bliss, good morning. Welcome. And he says, this is good information for training my interns. Rob, you're such a serial entrepreneur. He has got a wonderful co-working space here in the Dallas area called The Meeting Place. He hosts events. He highlights authors. He even has a library, because he and I, look, we're readers. And so he has a library where you can check out books, and you can go and be in an office environment and get out of the house, because that's part of being people skills, right, Rob? I know that you know this. It's part of people skills. You got to get out. We've gotten really comfortable being in our own space, and so we need to get out. And that has led to some radio interviews recently for me about co-working etiquette and just being respectful with each other, like not heating fish in the microwave, and don't burn the popcorn, and don't take food out of the fridge that's not yours. And I've been on the radio a lot lately about this. And so, just the lines have been blurred lately over respect. And the premise of etiquette is about respect. And so this is really near and dear to my heart. So I want to go back and show you one other article that, and let me close this out. I want to show you this. It is from the New York Post, and it says Gen Z is signing up for Adulting 101 classes. I mean, and I can share my screen to let you see it, because I am not making this up. I mean, I'm not. I am telling you, this is important. You've seen the articles I've shared on LinkedIn, articles about hiring managers that are struggling to hire Gen Zs because they're struggling so much in the workplace. It just seems overwhelming. But I want to encourage you as a hiring manager to hire them and pour into them. It is worth it. They are so excited about learning about how to be successful. And so here's the New York Post article. And so with that, I want to encourage you to don't give up on our Gen Zs. The adulting classes are important, and teaching them how to be professional in the workplace is important. And I am launching a soft skills accelerator class, a 12-week class that helps people with their professionalism. And it starts with the emotional intelligence piece, because we have to know ourselves. And so we're going to dive into ourselves. We're going to learn who we are. We're going to learn our emotional and psychological needs. We're going to learn how we communicate. We're going to learn how we behave when we're in distress. And then we're going to learn how to then take those skills and learn how to mirror others, how to recognize when our coworkers are in distress. And so we're going to teach them how to use this in leadership, because maybe our millennials have been promoted and now they are realizing that they are needing some training and development in soft skills. And so this helps them with their leadership. It helps them manage a team. It helps them communicate better. So we'll be working on that. We'll be working on executive presence. We're going to be working with people who want to be better in life. And what if you have a student that just graduated from college? And so now you're finding that you've spent the last 18 years pouring into your family, and now they're gone, and you find that you need to rediscover yourself. Soft skills is an ever evolving task. It's something that we are always learning and learning about ourselves. And so, if you are interested in this 12-week accelerator, or maybe it might be for you as a 12-week soft skills reboot, for you to discover yourself, discover how to communicate, discover how to set goals, how to plan your day, how to have activities and habits that really boost your life so that you can live the purposeful life that you were intended to live. This course will be for you. If you're interested in it, drop a comment down here that says me, and I will get back to you with information. It starts July 7th, and I am so excited to be able to do this at this time. I think the time is right. It is right for us to develop our soft skills. It is right for us to pour into our young people and to really help them, but it also is right to pour into us. Maybe we're the ones who need to learn a new skill. Maybe we're the ones who want to accelerate our career. This is going to be the class for you. I've got a couple more comments. Ron, thank you so much. Generations of older folks need the adulting professionalism classes too. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, because sometimes we need to reboot. Sometimes we get into habits and we don't realize that we can grow still. And so I totally agree with you there. And this is just the first generation that acknowledged and admitted that they need help. Yeah, we're seeing high rates of anxiety and depression in our schools right now. And so I think that the reason that we're seeing that is because they feel like there's no structure. They're not asked to figure things out. They're not taught to learn how they respond in distress. And we really have gone from helicopter parents, which is when I was teaching, those who really hovered over their kids and made sure they did everything right, to lawnmower parents now is what we're calling them. And these are the parents that clear the way so that our kids don't have to struggle. And I get that. No one wants to watch your kids struggle, but there are lessons in that. My minister, Jack Graham, talked about that a few months ago, about there is so much value in the struggle. And so knowing that you can walk beside them and say, gosh, this is hard. This is really tough, but you were made for this, and I'm here for you, but you've got it and you can figure it out. And so, but that is all part of teaching them who they are, teaching them how they communicate, teaching them how to handle the conversations, how to have a tough conversation, how to go to a meal without being worried about what they're doing, about not knowing what to order or what fork to use, or how to dress for the office. Even though it's a casual office, there's still standards. How do you know that? And how to know what to buy, how to manage your life, how to have the systems and processes in your life that help you be the best you can be. So it has been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you to everybody who has chimed in today. Ron says, as for me, my dad and parents were factory workers in Detroit. They didn't know anything about professionalism or soft skills. Thus, I had to figure it out on my own. And so many of us did. I'm grateful that my parents did teach me what I needed to know, but I still had a lot to learn. I didn't learn it all. But yes, and so that is my mission with doing what I do. So thank you for joining me today. Be sure and comment me if you are interested in getting information about the Soft Skills Accelerator course that's coming up starting July the 7th. And I will put the links to the Fox and Friends and to the New York Times articles in as soon as we get off here. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next time here on It's How You'll Be Remembered.